Okay, so we're going to go over the characters of the Crucible to help us better understand where and who and what and why is going on in the Crucible. So we start off with John Proctor. We know that John Proctor is our lead male character. He is the one who was shacking up with somebody when he was married and shouldn't have been, correct? And he denies it. But he had an affair with who? Yes, Abigail. So you can go ahead and type in there. Abigail Williams. Now, speaking of Abigail, she's a lovely young lady who wasn't out dancing naked around a pot of frogs and water juice, drinking blood to have her lover's wife killed. I'm kidding. Yes, she was. She was doing all of that. So, Abigail Williams, real stand-up girl. We find out that Abigail was actually the servant to John Proctor and his wife, and she got fired. I'm sure we have no reason, no understanding of why she got fired, right? But she was fired by John's wife. So just to keep that in order for you. So obviously I would say we think John's wife probably has an inkling of what was going on because she fired her. The servant to John Proctor was Mary Warren. Whoops. Mary Warren is the new servant who replaced Abigail, and she, sorry guys, and she was part of the dancing group of girls out in the woods that night. We saw in Act 1 that Abigail threatened Mary Warren because she doesn't want her to tell anybody what was actually going on out there. John Proctor is married to Elizabeth Proctor. Again, that's his wife, whom he cheated on, and she's the one who Abigail Williams was fired by, and the one that Abigail was drinking the charm of blood to hopefully kill. Hopefully from Abigail, not from my point of view. Moving forward, we find out that Abigail is the niece of, anybody remember? Right, Paris. Reverend Paris. Reverend Paris, there's a lot to him. He's not a very stand-up reverend, meaning he cares a lot about money and the way the church looks. He has to buy gold candlesticks because he cares about what it looks like versus what's actually going on in his church. Okay? There's a whole bunch of people who really don't like him. So there's a bunch of people trying to get him voted out of his office, if you will. And this is not helping that Abigail, his niece, is, for lack of better words, whoring around in the town. His daughter is in a coma because she was dancing in the woods naked. Things are not going well for Reverend Paris. Speaking of his daughter's name is? Yes, Betty. Betty Paris is her name. Betty's the one in the coma. She's the one who, when Reverend Paris snuck up on them in the woods, she got really scared and passed out, and all of the commotion is caused because of her, because she's laid up in bed pretending to be unconscious, which we see she's pretending because we see her at one point, remember, get out of the bed and actually talk to the girls, and then get smacked, fall back down, that whole thing. Another person who's important to know through this is the slave of Reverend Paris, which is Tituba or however you want to say it. Tituba is from Barbados, so she knows Barbados chants. And remember, anybody who is different than these people at this time usually was outcasted or blamed for anything that happened that went wrong in the town. Even things like natural disasters were blamed on people who were different. Tituba is a vital part of this whole situation because she was the one out with the girls in the woods. She was the one doing the chanting. She was the one who made the charm for Abigail. She was the one out there doing this with them. So obviously she's an easy scapegoat, right, for the girls to blame everything on. And she does. Reverend Parris, he sent help from, does anybody remember? Reverend Hale. Reverend Hale is from a neighboring town, and he studied up on witches and devil worshipping and things of that nature, and he is supposed to help the town see whether or not there are witches in the town. So Reverend Parris calls on him to help basically relieve Reverend Parris of having any association with witches at this point. Tituba accuses two people. So she accused Goody Osborne of killing the babies, and she accused Sarah Good, not of killing the babies, but of being with the devil, if you will. And Tituba, she blames everybody because if she doesn't start blaming people, what's going to happen to her? She's going to be hanged. So she's got to make it look like she's not the problem. Moving down. We might have to work. Goody Osborne is accused of killing the babies of Mrs. Putnam. Yes. Oops. Of Mrs. Putnam, who is obviously married to Thomas Putnam. Mr. and Mrs. Putnam are some interesting people, aren't they? They're doing all sorts of pot stirring, if you will, because they hate who? Yes, Reverend Parris. So they're trying to stir this pot as much as they can because they don't want Reverend Parris to still be the Reverend. Mr. Putnam is the father of Ruth. And Ruth was also one of the girls out at dancing at the fire. And lastly, who slaps Ruth in order to try to wake her up? So here we have the complete character chart filled out now to help you in your reading, which will be good for our next assignment. So if you need anything, let me know.